You're standing on the edge of a decision. That moment, that tiny sliver of time before you act, is everything. And most people waste it. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they wait. They hesitate. They talk themselves out of it. And I'm here to tell you that hesitation is the kiss of death for your dreams. The moment you feel an instinct, a desire, a spark, you've got 5 seconds. That's it. 5 seconds before your brain starts working against you. 5 seconds before fear creeps in, before excuses pile up, before you convince yourself it's not the right time. It never will be. We live our lives waiting. Waiting for confidence, for clarity, for courage, for the perfect moment. But let me ask you something, how's that working out for you? Because I've been there. I spent years waiting too. I knew I was capable of more. I knew I wasn't happy, but I kept waiting for the feeling to strike, for the motivation to arrive like some magical bus to pick me up and carry me to a better life. Spoiler alert, it never came. Motivation is garbage. You're never going to feel like doing the hard thing. That feeling, that comes after you act, not before. And that's where the 5-second rule comes in. It's stupidly simple, so simple that your brain will try to dismiss it. But don't, because this rule will change your life. It changed mine. Here's how it works. The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. That's it. You launch yourself forward before your brain can kill the idea. You speak up in the meeting. You close the laptop and go to the gym. You hit send. You get out of bed. You make the call. You stop scrolling and start doing. Because those 5 seconds are the difference between the life you have and the life you want. Don't underestimate how powerful those seconds are. Your brain is wired to protect you, not to make you happy, not to make you successful, to protect you, which means it's constantly scanning for risk and change. Even good change feels risky. So the moment you hesitate, your mind starts crafting reasons to back off. What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if it doesn't work? But when you act fast before the mental sabotage begins, you take the power back. Think of all the times in your life you've missed out, not because you couldn't do it, but because you didn't start. You stayed in bed. You stayed quiet. You stayed scared. And now you're sitting on a pile of regrets when what you needed was to count down from 5 and go. The 5-second rule is a tool, a trigger, a lifeline. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need more time. You don't need someone's permission. You just need to start. You want to start a business. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open the laptop and register that domain. You want to get in shape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put on your shoes and get outside. You want to speak up, ask for a raise, tell someone how you feel. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open your mouth and go. Will it be scary? Absolutely. Will it be uncomfortable? Of course. But do you want comfort or do you want growth? Because you don't get both. Let's stop pretending you need more time. You don't. You need less thinking and more doing. The most successful people aren't smarter than you. They're just faster to act. They don't wait to feel like it. They don't wait for everything to line up. They trust the instinct and move. That's the whole game. Momentum, action, progress. The more you act, the more confident you become. Confidence doesn't come from standing still. It comes from proving to yourself that you can trust yourself. So next time you feel that tug, that gut instinct to change, to speak, to try, to leap, you count. Out loud if you have to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you launch. You move before doubt and fear get a vote. Because if you give them time, they'll win. Every time. But you don't owe them anything. You owe yourself everything. You owe it to the version of you that's still dreaming. You owe it to the future that's still waiting. Stop lying to yourself that you'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is a fantasy. It's a trap. It's a way to feel okay about staying stuck today. Real change starts now. In 5 seconds. With one decision. You're one decision away from a different life. And the only thing standing between you and that life is a tiny moment of hesitation. You don't need a plan. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a countdown and a push. The life you want, it's already in you. But you've got to fight for it. You've got to stop negotiating with your excuses and start doing the things you know you need to do. One action. One moment of courage. One 5-second decision at a time. Because change doesn't happen all at once. It happens in those little micro moments where you choose to act instead of wait. And every time you do, you're rewiring your brain. You're becoming someone who follows through, someone who moves, someone who does. So the next time you're stuck, paralyzed by overthinking, standing still when everything in you is screaming for more, remember this: you're not waiting for the right time. You're killing time. And your life doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you decide to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. What's the first thing you're going to do differently starting now? We all do it. That small pause, that tiny hesitation right before we're about to do something important, say something, start something, take a step that matters. In that space, our entire life can shift, but most of the time, we don't even notice it. 1 second, we have the urge to act. The next, we hesitate. And in that pause, doubt rushes in like a tidal wave. Fear takes the wheel. Excuses show up in disguise. It's not the right time. What if it doesn't work? I'll do it tomorrow. And just like that, the moment is gone. Hesitation is invisible, but it's deadly. It robs you of opportunity. It delays progress. It builds a pattern of avoidance. You start to trust your fears more than your potential. And that's how people end up stuck in lives they never meant to live, jobs they don't love, relationships that drain them, dreams that never get a single breath of action. All because of that brief moment when they paused and didn't move. You have instincts for a reason. You have desires, ideas, sparks of action that flash through you because something inside you knows what you need to do. But instincts alone aren't enough. You need to move before your mind shuts the door. And it will if you let it. Your brain isn't designed to push you forward, it's designed to protect you. It's scanning for danger all the time, and to your brain, anything unfamiliar feels dangerous, even if it's the thing that will help you grow. Let's say you're sitting in a meeting and you've got a great idea. You feel that pulse, that instinct to speak up, but you don't do it right away. You pause. You wonder if it's a dumb idea. You start thinking, what if they judge me? What if I embarrass myself? And you say nothing. That's hesitation, not laziness, not lack of intelligence, just a pause that gave your brain enough time to kill the courage. Or imagine this: you want to work out. You set your alarm early. It goes off, and for 1 second you think about getting up. But then your brain whispers, just sleep a little more. You can go later. And you agree. You roll over. You skip the gym. You feel guilty later. The cycle repeats. That's hesitation in action. One small delay, one moment of negotiation, and the opportunity slips through your fingers. The crazy part is, this happens all the time. Hundreds of tiny moments every single day where you know what to do and you don't do it. Not because you don't care, not because you're weak, but because hesitation hijacks your courage, and it happens fast. Research shows you have less than 5 seconds before your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, kicks in and starts talking you out of action. That's why the 5-second rule is so powerful. It short-circuits the hesitation. It cuts it off before it can grow roots. You don't need a strategy for motivation. You need a strategy for movement. And it starts with this: act on your instincts quickly. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. That countdown is your launch pad. It gives your brain something to focus on besides fear. It gives your courage just enough room to breathe. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to act. Momentum is everything. If you hesitate, you lose it. If you act, you build it. And action, no matter how small, begins to shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who holds back and start becoming someone who follows through, someone who speaks up, someone who does. That's the secret no one tells you. Your life isn't shaped by the big, dramatic moments. It's shaped by the small ones you think don't matter. The decisions you make in the space of 5 seconds, the instinct to act, and whether or not you listen to it. Because the truth is, hesitation isn't harmless. It becomes a habit, a pattern, a personality. And before you know it, you're not just hesitating, you're stuck.
So what would your life look like if you stopped hesitating? If every time you felt the pull to act, you trusted it, counted down, and moved? What doors would open? What fears would shrink? What regrets would you finally stop collecting?
That's the power of catching hesitation before it catches you. That's the power of acting before the excuses arrive. Because the life you want is on the other side of the action you're avoiding. You just have to stop waiting and start moving 5 seconds at a time. We've been sold a lie, a comfortable, feel-good, motivational quote kind of lie. The idea that we need to feel ready before we start, that we need to be motivated to take action, that the energy, the passion, the excitement, those should come first, and only then will we be able to move. But that's not how life works. That's not how success happens. The truth is, motivation is unreliable. It's inconsistent. It shows up when it wants to, usually when things are already going well, and disappears the moment things get hard. So if you're waiting for motivation to show up and carry you into action, you'll be waiting forever. You won't always feel like doing what needs to be done. In fact, you rarely will, because the actions that lead to growth, change, success, they're uncomfortable. They push you. They require effort, discipline, and a willingness to be vulnerable. And let's face it, none of that feels good in the moment. Getting up early doesn't feel good when the bed is warm. Making the hard phone call doesn't feel good when anxiety is swirling in your chest. Saying no or speaking your truth doesn't feel good when you're scared of conflict or rejection. But waiting to feel good about it means you'll never do it. This is why so many people stay stuck. They say, "I just don't feel motivated," as if that's a valid reason not to act. But here's the reality. The feeling doesn't come first, the action does. The energy, the momentum, the confidence, the excitement, you earn those through doing. You build them brick by brick with every tiny step forward. You don't think your way into motivation. You move your way into it. Take any moment in your life when you felt fired up, when things were flowing, when you were on a roll. Chances are you were already in motion. You'd already taken a few steps, had a small win, felt the satisfaction of showing up. That feeling didn't magically land on you one morning. You created it. And if you created it once, you can do it again by choosing action first, regardless of how you feel. The key is not to rely on feelings to guide your decisions. Feelings are important, yes. They tell you what you care about, they help you connect to others, but when it comes to action, they're unreliable. If your life is run by feelings, you'll always lean toward comfort, toward the path of least resistance. And that's not where growth lives. Growth lives in the moments when you do the thing even though you don't feel like it. When you lace up your shoes and walk out the door even though you're tired. When you open the document and start typing even though you have no inspiration. When you speak up in a room full of people even though your voice is shaking. That's where real power begins, not in the moment of feeling confident, but in the moment of doing it anyway. And here's the kicker. The more you act without waiting for motivation, the more you train yourself to become someone who follows through. You become someone who takes control. Someone who doesn't let the ups and downs of emotion dictate the outcome. That's what discipline is. That's what consistency is. That's what success is built on. You want to build a habit? Don't wait to want it. Don't wait for the mood to strike. Set a trigger, set a time, and do it whether you feel like it or not. You want to get in shape. Show up even when you're tired. You want to write a book. Sit down and write even when the words feel flat. You want to change your life. Stop negotiating with your feelings and start honoring your commitment. Motivation may start a journey, but it will never carry you through. What will carry you is action. And action doesn't require motivation. It just requires movement. One step, one count, one moment of courage. That's why the 5-second rule is so powerful. It doesn't ask you to feel inspired. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It gives you the tool to act in spite of your resistance. You count down and you go. That's how you take control of your life. Not by hoping you'll feel ready someday, but by choosing to act now, tired, scared, uncertain, unmotivated. Because the moment you act, something shifts. You build momentum. You prove to yourself that you're capable. And that creates the kind of deep, lasting confidence no motivational quote ever could. So stop waiting. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to start. There's something powerful about a countdown. It grabs your attention. It cuts through the noise. It tells your brain something important is happening. And when it comes to taking action, especially the kind of action you tend to avoid, that's exactly what you need. You need something that snaps you out of autopilot. Something that overrides the part of your mind that wants to stay safe, stay quiet, stay stuck. That's what the 5-second rule does. It's not just a countdown, it's a pattern interrupt. It disrupts the habit of hesitation and gives you a way to move before fear takes over. Your brain is wired to protect you. That's its job. And anything uncertain, unfamiliar, or uncomfortable, Your brain flags it as a threat, even if it's something you want to do. That instinct to speak up, to start something new, to take a leap, your brain will immediately flood you with reasons to pull back. It's not the right time. You're not ready. You might fail. What will people think? And once those thoughts take over, it becomes almost impossible to act. This is where the countdown becomes a tool, a trigger, a psychological jolt. When you feel the urge to do something aligned with your goals, your values, your growth, you start counting backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you move. Not after the countdown. Not after you think about it. During the countdown. That's the key. Because what you're doing in those 5 seconds is engaging your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and intentional action. You're interrupting the habit loop of fear and giving your mind a new command: go. It sounds simple because it is. But don't confuse simple with weak. This tool is backed by real behavioral science. The countdown acts like a launch sequence. It forces your focus away from the excuses and onto the action. And when you do it consistently, something remarkable happens. You start building trust with yourself. You start proving over and over again that you're someone who acts in spite of fear, not someone who lets fear decide. Let's be honest. Most people know exactly what they need to do. You don't need another podcast, another book, another inspirational quote to tell you that. What you need is to close the gap between knowing and doing. That gap is where fear lives. That's where dreams go to die. But when you use the countdown, you collapse that gap. You remove the window where doubt sneaks in. You don't give fear a chance to get its foot in the door. You just move. And it doesn't matter how big or small the action is. It could be getting out of bed instead of hitting snooze. It could be walking up to someone and starting a conversation. It could be hitting publish on the thing you've been working on for weeks. The principle is the same. You count and you act. You do it quickly, deliberately, and without permission from your emotions. This isn't about being impulsive. It's about reclaiming control. When you count down, you're not reacting, you're responding. You're choosing. And that's where your power lies. Because the more you practice it, the more automatic it becomes. Your brain starts to associate that countdown with courage, with action, with results. There's something liberating about not needing to feel confident to act confident. You learn that bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's movement with fear. And that movement, as small as it might seem, begins to stack. Day after day, moment after moment, you're building a habit of action, a habit of following through, and those habits begin to rewrite your identity. You stop being the person who overthinks everything and start becoming the person who does things. You stop waiting for perfect timing and start creating your own momentum. You stop avoiding the discomfort and start using it as fuel. And all of it begins with 5 seconds. Just 5. That's how fast you can change your life if you're willing to interrupt the hesitation and trust the countdown. So the next time you feel the pull to act and that little voice in your head says, maybe later, don't argue with it. Don't explain yourself. Don't rationalize the delay. Just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. Let the countdown be the bridge between your intention and your action. Because that's where everything begins. The truth is, you're never going to feel ready. And that's not a flaw in you, it's a feature of being human. We've been conditioned to believe that readiness comes first, that clarity comes first, that one day we'll wake up and the fear will be gone, the doubts will vanish, and we'll finally have all the confidence we need to take that leap. But real life doesn't work like that. Waiting to be ready is just a socially acceptable form of procrastination. It feels safe, it sounds reasonable, but all it really does is keep you exactly where you are. When you wait until you're ready, what you're actually doing is stalling until the fear disappears. But fear doesn't disappear. It morphs, it evolves, it disguises itself as logic and planning and perfectionism. It tells you to wait just a little longer, to learn one more thing, to get one more opinion. And while you're busy trying to feel ready, life is moving. Opportunities are passing. Your courage is fading. Starting before you're ready is the only way anything ever really gets done. Look at anyone who's achieved something meaningful, launched a business, changed careers, spoken their truth, moved to a new place, stepped into a bold new version of themselves. They didn't do it because they felt 100% ready. They did it in spite of not feeling ready. They did it scared. They did it uncertain. They did it while their hands were shaking and their minds were spinning. Because they understood something most people don't. Readiness is a result, not a requirement. You don't become ready by waiting. You become ready by doing. Action creates clarity. Movement creates momentum. The very things you think you need in order to start are actually on the other side of starting. You want confidence? Act without it. You want courage? Move while you're scared. You want answers? Begin, and they'll reveal themselves along the way. That's the paradox of growth. You have to leap without knowing exactly where you'll land. This is where the 5-second rule becomes your greatest ally. Because when you feel the urge to do something, and you know it's aligned with your goals, your values, your future, you don't wait. You count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you go. That countdown bypasses the voice in your head that's screaming, "Not yet, you're not ready." It pulls you out of hesitation and into motion. And once you're in motion, you realize you didn't need to feel ready, you just needed to move. Think about the moments in your life when you did something big without feeling prepared. Maybe it was speaking in public. Maybe it was saying yes to a job you weren't totally sure about. Maybe it was having a tough conversation or going on that trip or applying for something out of your league. You didn't feel ready, but you did it anyway. And afterward, you realized something powerful. The fear was bigger in your head than it was in reality. The moment you moved, the fear shrank. The confidence grew. The path got clearer. Waiting to be ready is often just fear dressed up as preparation. And preparation is important, but there comes a point when it becomes avoidance. At some point, you have to stop planning and start doing. You have to trust that you'll figure it out along the way. You have to give yourself permission to begin before you're certain, because certainty is built through experience, not theory. What if you stopped trying to feel ready and started acting like the kind of person who's already capable? What if you trusted that you have enough right now to begin? You might not have all the answers, but you have enough to take the first step. You might not see the full path, but you can see the next move. And that's all you need. Every great thing you want for yourself, every goal, every change, every breakthrough, it's waiting on the other side of that first step. And that first step almost always feels too soon. That's the sign that it's right on time. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Don't wait to feel like you've got it all figured out. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and take the leap. Start messy. Start unsure. Start scared. Just start. Because once you do, you'll realize that readiness isn't what brings you to action. Action is what brings you to readiness. Confidence is one of those things we often misunderstand. We think it's something you're born with, or that it magically appears once you've achieved enough or prepared enough. We look at confident people and assume they feel fearless, certain, bulletproof. But the truth is, confidence isn't a feeling, it's a skill. And like any skill, it gets built through action, not theory. You don't think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. Step by step, decision by decision, you build trust with yourself. That trust is the foundation of real, lasting confidence. So what does that mean for you? It means if you're waiting to feel confident before you speak up, try something new, take a risk, you've got it backward. Confidence doesn't come before the action. It's the result of the action. Every time you do something hard, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, and you survive it, even if it doesn't go perfectly, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. That proof stacks up. It rewires how you see yourself. And over time, you start to believe in your own ability to figure things out, no matter how uncertain it feels at first. Think of confidence like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. You can read every book about lifting weights, watch hours of videos, plan the perfect workout, but unless you pick up the barbell, nothing changes. The same goes for confidence. You can talk about your goals, visualize success, plan endlessly, but until you actually do the scary thing, the confidence won't come. Action is the weight. Action is the resistance that builds your strength. This is where the 5-second rule becomes a game changer. It gives you a practical way to act before your mind talks you out of it. The moment you feel the instinct to move, to raise your hand, to hit send, to speak up, you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you go. That simple countdown interrupts the overthinking, the doubt, the fear, and it pushes you into action. And once you act, even if your heart is racing and your voice shakes, you've done something huge, you've taken control. You've made a move. And that builds evidence in your brain. I can do hard things. The more often you act, the more evidence you gather. And the more evidence you gather, the more confidence you build. It becomes a loop. Each small act of courage becomes a brick in the foundation of self-belief. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable, not because everything you do is perfect, but because you know you'll show up no matter what. One of the biggest myths is that confidence requires success. It doesn't. It requires trying. It requires effort. Some of your most powerful confidence will come from moments when things didn't go your way, but you still showed up. You still learned. You still grew. That's the kind of confidence that can't be faked or taken away because it's rooted in experience, not outcomes. Think back to a time when you did something that scared you. Maybe it was a presentation, a conversation, a big decision. You probably didn't feel ready. You probably doubted yourself, but you did it anyway. And afterward, even if it wasn't perfect, you felt something shift. That's the birth of confidence. It's not about being fearless, it's about doing the thing while you're scared. The courage to act despite fear is what strengthens your confidence muscle. Confidence is not ego. It's not arrogance. It's not pretending you have all the answers. Real confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's the inner knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. You can learn. You can recover. You can keep going. And that kind of confidence is built through thousands of tiny decisions, the kind of decisions the 5-second rule helps you make every day. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight to build confidence. You just need to stop hesitating and start following through. The next time you feel the tug to act and the fear creeps in, don't wait. Don't analyze. Don't stall. Count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. That action might feel small in the moment, but it's doing something massive. It's rewiring your brain. It's changing your self-image. It's building the kind of confidence that can take you anywhere you want to go. One of the most powerful truths we often forget is that our life is not defined by the big moments. It's built in the small ones. It's not the huge leaps or rare breakthroughs that shape your future, but the tiny, everyday choices you make when no one's watching. It's the decision to get out of bed when you want to hit snooze. It's whether you speak up in a meeting or stay silent. It's clicking submit on that job application you're scared to send. The 5-second rule works because it targets those micro moments, those quiet seconds where everything can change if you just act. Most people wait for the right time for inspiration to strike or for a big opportunity to magically appear. But life doesn't work that way. Life responds to momentum. The more you act, the more opportunities you create. The more you follow through, the more doors open. The smallest decisions can set off chain reactions that completely transform your life, but only if you stop hesitating. That's what the 5-second rule trains you to do. It's not just about making a single bold move, it's about shifting how you respond in every moment of hesitation. When you start counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're stepping into your power in real time. You're not letting your feelings decide. You're not negotiating with your fear. You're cutting through the noise and moving. And in that movement, you start building a new identity. Think about it. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you reinforce the belief that you are a person who takes control. That belief compounds. It spills over into every area of your life. You become more decisive, more resilient, more consistent. And that consistency, built one decision at a time, is what creates momentum. Momentum is everything. It's what turns an idea into progress, a habit into a lifestyle, a dream into a reality. When you're stuck, it's not because you lack ability, it's because you've lost momentum. The longer you wait, the heavier the next move feels. That's why it's so important to catch yourself in those tiny moments when your instinct says go and fear says wait. The 5-second rule snaps you out of it before you start spiraling into doubt. And it doesn't take a massive overhaul to start creating momentum. All it takes is acting in the small, everyday moments where you'd normally hesitate. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you interrupt the habits that are keeping you stuck. You use 5 seconds of courage to create a lifetime of progress. It's easy to underestimate the impact of a small action. But think about it. What if you had made the call? What if you had said yes? What if you had raised your hand, spoken up, gone for it? How different would things be right now? Now flip that question. What could happen if, starting today, you stopped hesitating? What could you build, learn, or discover if you took action in those critical 5-second windows over and over again? The truth is, change doesn't require some grand transformation. It requires micro shifts repeated consistently. When you use the 5-second rule regularly, you begin to shift your default settings. You start showing up differently. You think less and do more. You stop overanalyzing and start creating results. And the best part, It doesn't rely on motivation or willpower, it only requires a moment of intention. Over time, those moments add up. They create momentum you can feel. You'll start noticing that you're getting things done faster. You're procrastinating less. You're taking more risks. You're getting feedback, learning, growing. That's how you create a version of yourself you're proud of, not by waiting, but by acting again and again in the moments when it would have been easier to hold back. This is the secret. Your future is shaped in 5-second windows. Each time you count down and move, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you act instead of avoid, you're shifting your trajectory, even if it's just a little. And those little shifts, they change everything. So don't dismiss the power of the small moments. That text you send, that word you speak, that decision you make, they matter. When you're faced with hesitation, remember the rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. That's how you build momentum. That's how you change your life, 5 seconds at a time. We all want to change our lives in some way. Maybe it's starting a business, getting healthier, breaking a bad habit, building a relationship, or finding more purpose. But here's the hard truth. The desire to change means nothing without action. Wanting something doesn't make it happen. Wishing doesn't move the needle. Only action does. The problem is, most of us think change has to be dramatic. We wait for the big moment, the massive breakthrough, the clear sign. But in reality, change is quiet. It's subtle. It happens through consistent, deliberate action, especially when you don't feel like it. That's what makes the 5-second rule so powerful. It turns the abstract idea of change into something tangible, something actionable. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to recognize those moments where action is required and move. That's how change begins. Not when everything is perfect, but when you stop waiting and start doing. Even the tiniest action in the direction of your goal creates momentum. It sends a signal to your brain. We're not just thinking about change anymore, we're doing it. Most people never change because they're stuck in the habit of hesitation. They talk themselves out of every opportunity, every risk, every moment of courage. The voice in your head that says, wait, what if, or you're not ready, is not your truth, it's your fear. And the only way to silence that voice is to move anyway. You don't reason with fear. You override it. You act in spite of it. The 5-second rule gives you that override switch. It cuts off the mental chatter before it spirals out of control. It interrupts the delay and launches you into motion. And once you're in motion, everything starts to shift. You build self-respect. You build self-trust. You build a reputation with yourself as someone who follows through. You stop being the person who's always thinking about it and start becoming the person who's doing it. That identity shift is where real transformation happens. Because once you identify as someone who takes action, change is no longer something you chase, it's something you embody. Think about what changes in your life when you act more than you hesitate. Your confidence goes up because you're backing yourself. Your results improve because you're actually doing the work. Your resilience grows because you've faced discomfort and kept going. One decision leads to another, and soon you're not only changing your habits, you're changing your entire trajectory. Change doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require massive leaps. It requires consistency. 5 seconds at a time. The magic is in those tiny decisions, the decision to get up instead of snoozing, to speak up instead of staying quiet, to hit send, to start the workout, to walk into the room. They seem small in the moment, but they're building a new future brick by brick. The best part, you don't need motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It fades. It's driven by emotion. The 5-second rule is different. It doesn't care how you feel. It's based on behavior, not mood. You can be tired, scared, insecure, unsure, and still move. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to count down and do it anyway. That's what changes lives. Not grand intentions, but small actions taken over and over again. The rule becomes your launch pad. It teaches you that you don't have to wait for confidence, clarity, or the right moment. You create those things through action. So ask yourself, what would change if you just stopped waiting? What could you accomplish if you trusted yourself to move, even when it was uncomfortable? What if every time you hesitated, you just counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and went? Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need to make a move. And then another. And then another. That's how you change your life. Not someday. Not later. Now. 5 seconds at a time.